Whether you own a small business or manage one, you know that the customer experience isn't just another thing. It's the only thing. Angel Tussey and Eric Raymer know it too, and they're starting a revolution in how people treat people in business. They're here to help you get your business right. And now, it's time for Experience Pros with Angel and Eric.
Welcome to Experience Pros with Angel and Eric, the most positive business talk show in America. And you know where small business is big business, and your business is our business.
We've got a huge show for you today. In our Fan Bragging segment, we'll look at what happens when your I do's turn to I didn't.
And then we'll hit the streets with our field reporter, Emily Peterson-Wood, asking everyday people what they do to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Next, we'll talk appreciation marketing with Bridget Aids. Is it possible to build a thriving business based solely on gratitude and referrals?
And then there's a new super cool Leatherman tool. And if you haven't seen it yet, you're in for a big surprise. Jason Carpenter shows us the next piece of jewelry that every man will want.
And finally, what's trending for the well-dressed businesswoman? Professional stylist Marla Smith shows us how to get ahead by dressing for success.
All that is ahead, but first, perhaps it's time for us to offer yet another public service announcement.
Another one?
Yep, it's time for that. It's come to our attention that business owners, some business owners, have great ideas for their business names, but well, they haven't well thought out those names to translate to the internet. It's time for a little thing that we call, What Were They Thinking?
Before we get into these good ideas gone bad, we have to tell you every one of these businesses are 100% legit. And yet somehow their marketing efforts have been compromised by an unfortunate lack of forethought.
Our first example is you're probably doing like everybody does, hanging out in Belgrade, Serbia, minding your own business and perhaps looking for a little nightlife to while away the after hours. What do? You hit the internet and type happening nightclubs into whatever they call Google out there. What comes up? The Noti Baitf Art Cafe. Check the spelling twice. It's probably a good thing because that's where the link takes you. BaitfArtCafe.com.
Oh, that's just bad.
I just got one question. What were they thinking?
What were they thinking? All right, everyone knows that clothes make the man, but what about the children? They need to be well-dressed too, right? Well, sure they do, and who knows that better than anyone except for the founders of childrenswear.co.uk. No, children's wear.
No, children swear.
No, children's wear.
I swear, they swear.
Well, the British have always had a sense of style, even if they might not have chosen the best name for their website. Perhaps those kids look good, but watch out. Grandma's going to wash your mouth out with soap. One question. What were you thinking?
Are you an aspiring arborist? How about a nutritionist interested in organic food, nutrition, and healthy living? Well, if you happen to live in the New South Wales area, you're in luck. Mole Station Nursery has a website that will inform and educate you on all things planting.
Mole Station?
Wait a minute, better check your spelling before you visit molestationnursery.com. Yeah, that was molestationnursery.com. What were you thinking?
Think that nothing like that could happen here in America? Well, think again. All you want to do is get your outdoorsman on. What do you do if you're living in Hocking Hills, Ohio? You check right into Old Man's Haven for luxurious, secluded cabins for a weekend getaway.
Wait a minute. Old Man's Shaven?
Old Man's Haven. Try explaining that to your wife when she sees what you brought up in your web browser. That's Old Man's Haven. What were they thinking?
All right. Hey, it's time for our viewer mail. And recently we received an email from a viewer who asks us the following question. Dear Angel and Eric, I need your help. One of my oldest clients has slipped weeks, maybe even months behind in their payment for my services. I don't want to rock the boat, but they have to know that their failure to pay is affecting me in huge ways. What do I do? Signed, No Cash Flow in Cali.
All right. Well, a long-standing client is not paying your invoices on time. Do you, A, threaten them with legal action? The nerve of them.
B, keep following up with them. Surely, they're going to crack and pay eventually.
Crack in the dumpster. Or C, let them pay you on their schedule. You're grateful for the work.
Or how about this? D, email them and say, Dear client, You know I love working with you guys, and I want our relationship to continue. However, we do need to have a chat about our invoice situation. My contract stipulates payment within 30 days, and as you may or may not be aware, the last couple of payments took more than 90. I know you have priorities when it comes to your cash flow, and as a small business owner, I can totally sympathize. But I also have a mortgage to pay and several humans to feed. And my bank manager won't listen to my 90-day invoice story. Believe me, I've tried. Do call me if we need to chat about this. I remain your friend and colleague. Cash flow issues in Cali. Oh, what do you do?
Well, you know what? You've got to let them know. You've got to let them know that it's now trickled down and has an effect not only in you receiving the payment, but you then being able to take care of your clients, your family, and all of that.
So would you write that goofy email?
I would write.
You'd write the short version of it.
I would write a very short version.
I know about your short version.
I don't like long emails. Nobody's going to read it, but I would try to be.
Got my money.
I would try to be kind of friendly about that.
You know, I've seen this happen in small businesses all over, and I've actually seen you handle the occasional time when it happens at Experience Pros. And I think as long as you go in with an attitude of grace, right, and willingness, knowing that.
Not a baseball bat.
No, crack, and you're in the dumpster.
Right?
Probably,
somebody told me that once. That was a phrase that somebody actually said to me, but they were from New York. And had a little Jersey accent.
He could probably pull that off a little better than you. But if you go in with a heart saying, you know, listen, I know life happens and it happens to us as well, but please try to understand, you know, that the cash flow has to go both ways. Otherwise, there's a trickle-down effect, and we're not talking about Reaganomics. Right?
I'll tell you what, unfortunately, you know, when you send out those 30-day invoices, you know, a lot of times it turns into 45 or even 60 days before you're paid. Mm-hmm. And it's an issue for small business owners. And so making sure you've got a system in place, some agreements in place, and maybe even a little bit of a resource to handle that when those, you know, fill those gaps in the interim.
Absolutely. Speaking of those systems, you can pick up a copy of our book, Lists to Save My Business, all chock full of systems that will help you grow your business. It's time for a segment now that we call Fan Bragging. And Fan Bragging is where we intentionally take the time to recognize acts of kindness in business, or in the case of today's story, in life. The focus of our Fan Bragging today is a story of a canceled wedding that led to quite a meal for the homeless of Sacramento, California.
After the groom-to-be called off his nuptials, the bride-to-be's family decided to turn their $35,000 celebration into an intentional act of kindness towards those less fortunate.
Wow. Sacramento bride Carrie Duane and her family couldn't get out of their prepaid deposits, so they did the next best thing. They invited the city's homeless to share in the feast prepared for the now non-existent couple. Hundreds of people came, families, adults, children. All were treated to the very best meal they'd had in years. And while there's no immediate healing for the pain of being stood up at the altar, the Duane family can rest in the knowledge that something extraordinary happened on that day anyway.
I'll tell you what, so that's a Fan Bragging story. Our Fan Brag goes out to the bride-to-be and her family's selfless act of compassion for those less fortunate.
Well said. If you have a Fan Bragging story that you'd like to share with us, by all means, use the hashtag FanBrag and let us know who's getting it right in business. Who knows? Maybe we'll use your story in an upcoming episode of Experience Pros with Angel and Eric.
Coming up next, it's Valentine's Week. Do you participate? Our very own Emily Peterson Wood takes to the streets and finds out what America really feels about Valentine's Day.
And still ahead, we speak with Bridget Aids about appreciation marketing. Is gratitude everything it's made out to be?
Right. Just the little things. Celebrate life with your clients. They'll never leave you.
Stay tuned.